Welcome to the Women's Motorsports Network podcast, the show that puts the spotlight on the incredible women who fuel the world of motorsports. From drivers to crew members, engineers to fans, and everyone in between, we're here to celebrate the trailblazers, dreamers, and doers shaping the sport we love. Each episode, we share inspiring stories of females of all ages, from every corner of the motorsports universe, past, present, and future. It's a journey through the seasons of life filled with heartfelt moments, laughter, and a whole lot of horsepower. So whether you're a lifelong fan, a racer yourself, or simply curious about the extraordinary women behind the wheel, settle in, relax, and enjoy a fun and uplifting ride with us. This is the Women's Motorsports Network podcast, connecting and celebrating women in motorsports, one story at a time. Let's hit the track. Promoting a track takes heart, and now showing appreciation can be just as easy. With send-out cards, you can thank sponsors, volunteers, drivers, and fans with personalized digital cards sent right from your phone or laptop. Add a photo, write a message, and hit send. It's that simple. Unlimited sends for just $10 a month. Go to sendoutcards.com/53240. That's sendoutcards.com/53240, because gratitude builds great tracks. If you're looking to buy, sell, or trade the stuff that strokes your engine, anything from truck parts to classic and muscle cars, RVs to hot rods, and everything in between, then check out our official classifieds at racingjunk.com. Racingjunk.com is the world's #1 online racing and performance marketplace, the ultimate one-stop shop where you'll find what you need to rock your ride. If it belongs in your garage, it's for sale on racingjunk.com. Log on to racingjunk.com to find the gear you're looking for, sell your extra stuff, keep up on racing news and tech tips, and more. Again, that's racingjunk.com. Hello, everyone. This is Melinda Russell with the Women's Motorsports Network podcast. And Laura Butcher is my guest today. And so, Laura, first, I want to welcome you to the show. And as I always do, I want my audience to get to know you a little better outside of motorsports. So will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. And Melinda, thank you so much for having me. I live in Northern Nevada and I'm married. My husband's name is BJ and I have a daughter that's 8. Her name is Grace. And we have 2 dogs, a Belgian Malinois named Moxie and like a Chiweenie mix named Buddy. They're both rescues. So that's my family.
I have a little dog. He's not a rescue, but the dog before him was, but the dog I have now is about a 15-pound Shih Tzu.
Oh, cute.
Oh my gosh. I could talk all day about him, and people probably is tired of hearing me tell that I have that dog. But you know what? They're just family. And as soon as I put my shoes on, he's right there ready to go out. He wants to go every time. So yeah, I love my dog. And you know what I find is a lot of motorsports people have dogs more than cats.
For sure. Yeah, I do know a few that have cats, but by far dog people, I would say. A lot of people like to take their dogs with them, which is the nice part about a lot of the motorsports industry is dogs are pretty welcome at most racetracks.
Yeah, they really are. And as long as you start taking them from when they're little, I think, or, you know, the noise in that doesn't seem to bother most of them. They like being there. So I just love my dog for sure. So Laura, how did you get interested in motorsports? Where did your story start?
My story started, I would say, in the mid to late 90s. My older brother, Mike, he was a off-road racer. He was big time into off-road in general, but he started racing when he was just out of high school. And there was a local series that he did pretty frequently, and I got really involved in that. I always was pretty, I would say, in awe of my brother. And so all of his friends, I wanted them to be my friends. I wanted to go everywhere he went, do everything he did. So throughout the course of my early 20s, I started going with him and his friends more to these events. He also raced a larger series, Score International, down in Baja. So I did go down there a few times for different like pit support things over the years. And it's just kind of been a crazy evolution since then. But it did start, I would say, late 90s in the middle of nowhere, Nevada, with my older brother.
And is he still racing?
He actually passed away in 2014. So he
I'm
did go for a
sorry.
really long time. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. But I like to think that I'm carrying his memory with me with all the stuff I'm still doing. So
Yeah,
that's
absolutely. My son passed away. My son was the original racer in our family, and he passed away in 2018. And I was doing some motorsports things already, but I've really done a lot more since then. And I feel the same way. I feel like there's times I just feel him with me.
right.
I know people probably think that's crazy, but it's really not.
I know
you
what you
know,
mean. I definitely don't think it's crazy.
yeah.
There are so many times where, you have a surreal moment like, oh man, I just feel like he's with me, or it's
Mhm.
like I would love to know what he would have to say about where I've ended up in life,
Yeah.
because it's pretty crazy. So I'm sorry to hear about your son, but I totally relate.
Yeah. I'm glad we're on the same wavelength there, that if we're other people think we're crazy, at least we don't think each other is. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So how did you got started doing that with him? So
I
what's
did.
been your story? What's been your progress?
So over the years, with my brother in a lot of ways, and like I said, his friends, I had been a paramedic for a really long time, and I started going to races, motocross, as well as, like I said, down in Baja for really big races like the Baja 1000 and more local series, doing like pit support for different race teams, as well as my brother. I did get to co-drive with him a bit, which was really awesome. And I mostly ended up being a pit medic. I went down to Baja quite a bit and worked for BF Goodrich Tires in their pit support stuff. And it was a really cool experience. Obviously, it stuck with me a bunch. And then when my brother passed away in 2014, I kind of wasn't sure where to go with things. At that point, I was really just done being a paramedic, like, did not want to deal with any death or anything anymore.
Mhm.
So I kind of took a few years off and then got into kind of a very fluke situation where a girl that I'd met down in Baja at a pit was doing this thing called the Rebel Rally. And she had her partner back out at the last minute. So 2 months before that rally, I signed on to be her partner. And so both in the years 2018 and 2019, I did the Rebel Rally, which I'm not sure. Are you familiar with it at
Oh
all?
yeah. Oh
Okay.
yeah.
So I had done it in 2018, wasn't very good at it. Came back in 2019, still just moderate, but in 2019 I did it with who is now my best friend. Her name's Erica Sachs, Sideman now, but she's like a world-class navigator for all the big time racers, and I was so awestruck at the time. But kind of in tandem of my first year of doing that, I had also gotten the opportunity to go to the Off-Road Motorsports Hall of Fame gala, and I wanted to help celebrate the original owner of Valley Off-Road Racing Association, VORA, who was getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. His name was Ed Robinson, and I'm still very close to his family, and they are still racers. So he was getting inducted into the Hall of Fame, and my husband and I wanted to go be supportive. So while we were down there, I knew that Dave Cole of King of the Hammers had purchased the series most recently, and we had kind of watched it. I don't want to be rude, but die. It was just, it
Mhm.
was failing.
Yeah.
And so I figured it was all but gone. We had been volunteering, my husband and I would been volunteering with VORA for a long time, doing different roles. So I just caught Dave like with my husband and I got him at just the right moment. I guess he just had enough to drink. So I asked if I could use VORA's logo for some retro t-shirts. I wanted to do a run of like a 70s, 80s style shirt because VORA's been around since 1975. So in that moment, he just said, you know what, you can have the logo and the whole series, and just kind of got it was caught on a Facebook Live interview that they were doing, and it turned into a whole thing. So that was really exciting. But then we got home and it's like, oh gosh, well, what did we just get ourselves into? And what do we do with this? This is so much. So it was a good time for me because I was done being a paramedic. I didn't really know what I wanted to do anymore. And then boom, this race series at VORA, it lands in my lap. So we've really revitalized it quite a bit over the last 7 years, and we are now in our 50th year. This year is VORA's 50th anniversary, which is pretty amazing. It's, I would say, a bigger, healthier series than it's ever been. And that's been so awesome. And throughout the last 7 years of doing that, there's been an interesting evolution of everything from me learning about land use and BLM permits in order to hold races, having some frustrations there, getting my regular full-time job at a nonprofit called Tread Lightly. That's one of our nation's leading land use advocacy nonprofits. So I work day in and day out on all things off-road and advocacy for the sport. And then in addition to that, a few years into it, VORA has always done short course and desert racing. My little hometown, they had a plot of land that they had been given in a land swap with a mining company. They weren't doing anything with it, and we had been using it for some of our race stuff. And they came to my husband and I and said, hey, would you guys want to use this property more? And then next thing I know, now I'm developing a almost 1,000-acre off-road park.
Oh, that's amazing.
So I've got a few irons in the fire.
I guess you do. So what will you do at the park once you're just still working on it, right?
Yep.
So what will you do there when it's all done?
Oh gosh, I hope to do everything from kind of overseeing the day-to-day operations of it. And some of that we're very much still in the development phases. I was just this morning working on maps for the civil engineering company to be able to go in and kind of redo and make them look prettier for where I want things to go. But I would imagine VORA, as well as other race series, will continue to utilize the area for racing. I have it plotted out for short course racing, motocross racing, mid-course racing, as well as a loop that still goes in and out of BLM land for desert racing. There's also a rock crawling area that I'm looking at. So, you know, it's going to be a really cool multi-use area.
Wow. And Laura, don't you just feel like, just from listening to you, I feel like this is your purpose. That all the things that you have done have resulted in this happening. You know, you don't often somebody doesn't just hand you a series. Somebody doesn't, especially the government, doesn't come to you and say, hey, wouldn't you like to use this land? You know, here in Michigan, they're more likely to try to get you to go out of business. Unfortunately, right here, you know, we have a racetrack that's been around forever, and one guy on the township is tried to get that racetrack closed.
There's always one.
There's always one.
It's usually a very few people, but they can be very loud. So it is a tough game continuously. Yeah. But I do feel like this is really my calling. I mean, everything from the advocacy of the sport on the whole to actually, like, you know, logistics and operations. I have a bachelor's degree in emergency management, and you wouldn't think that would translate really well.
Oh, I bet in
so many ways it does. Like,
I can pressure. Yeah, I can see how, you know, let's just take North Carolina, for instance. You know, they had all the hurricane and all things that happened. Somebody has to come in and be able to repurpose and you know, adjust what's not there anymore and find some place for those people. So I can see how that would really tie in. And when you went to school for that, You probably had no idea.
No
that this would
idea.
be what you were
I
going to do.
really had myself very focused on a fire department because I'd done a lot of fire service stuff as well. Fire department, paramedic, maybe FEMA at some point, you know, very, very career driven, but in a very different way. So never would have expected it to take any of these turns, but I really feel like, you know, that's where, like what you're saying, I feel like my brother has totally had a hand in it, you know. I named the off-road park after him with my parents' blessing and everything. We decided to use his nickname that he had as a call sign when he was a racer. And so it's Farmy's Off-Road Park.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
What a tribute to your brother.
I sure hope it turns out well. I'm working on it.
So how long is it going to take to really get this to where you can hold a race there? I mean, I'm sure it takes a lot of time.
Well, we've been continuing to race there at least once a year because it's part of one of our desert courses already.
Okay.
I hold the BLM permit for the surrounding area. It's a 250-mile race. And that particular spot is where we have like our main pit and some of our, you know, regular logistics and stuff based out of. But I've been already working on it like 3 years. I would have thought I was going to be done by now. This has been such a learning curve. Everything, like it being that it used to be a mine, and about 30 plus years ago, it was also a portion of it was a landfill. So trying to understand how to properly place things. And I was so worried about digging into the ground in some of the areas, like for putting restrooms in and things like that, that it's just been super slow going in these initial phases. But I feel like we're just picking up steam now that a lot of the civil engineering is cleared. And I was really lucky to get a grant from the state of Nevada in their OHV program for $100,000 to get it started. Nice. And they've pretty much said that they will continue to work with me to fund it in phases. And I've got a lot of really great support. So it all dovetails so well in my race series, as well as, you know, my regular full-time job. And my daughter's about to get into racing. So, you know, all the stuff really meshes well.
Well, and, you know, instead of a piece of land just sitting there,
right.
You know,
it's been there since 2012, not doing anything.
Wow.
So.
And the fact that it's going to be multi-use and recreational, and I mean, it's a win-win, I would think, for everybody involved.
I really want it to be. My hometown has a population of about 5,000 people, and a lot of it, you know, revolves around mining and agriculture. Well, agriculture is a pretty steady thing. Mining really fluctuates quite a bit. And I really feel very passionately that the off-road industry and off-road in general offers a really great source of an economy boost that's much more sustainable, long-term. Like if you watch the numbers on how much money that brings into places annually, it's crazy. So, you know, a small town in the middle of the desert is pretty perfect for that kind of stuff. And I really feel like it'll be beneficial to my community as well.
Yeah, because I'm sure you have a grocery store and gas stations and some other typical small town businesses, you know, maybe some fast food places, other restaurants, whatever. And unless somebody's just traveling and happens to go through there, you know,
which isn't super often unless they're going to Las Vegas, and then they just tend to go across the edge of it and hit McDonald's on their way through.
Right.
And that's about it.
So now when you start holding races there, and let's just say you have 50 racers come, they're bringing crew with them, they're bringing families, hotels, camping places, whatever.
Yep.
I just don't see a downside to it. And are the people in your town, are they for it? Do they understand all that? Or
I would say yes, they are largely supportive. Much like you, there are a few people, you know, like we were saying, there's always a few people that I've learned that people will have a problem with anything, like
Mm-hmm.
literally
Right.
anything. So I really don't let it bug me too much anymore, because you're just never going to make everybody happy.
Nope.
But on the whole, people are super supportive. They're very excited about it. When we bring VORA races into, whether it's my hometown or any of the other communities in Northern Nevada, one of my big focus points is really trying to help those local communities with an economy boost while we're there. We just had a race 2 weeks ago, and I was just so touched by a message that I got from a local bar restaurant owner saying that, she'd been struggling so much the last 2 years. And this last race, we hosted, a lot of our events kind of out of there, had like a pre-race party and stuff. And we tripled, her income that she'd made off of any other events in the last few years. And it was kind of what was keeping her afloat right now. So it's just stuff like that. It's nothing's going to stop me once I hear things like that.
Oh yeah, for sure. And how you change, lives like that without, that's really not your main goal, or, but
it's certainly
it's
a
a
nice
side
byproduct.
It's a good byproduct. And even like, I'm sure there's a gas station, Dairy Queen, whatever, that probably had the same outcome. You just didn't hear about it.
Absolutely. So it's such a cool way to just bring my passion with off-road racing into other, avenues of life.
Yeah. So do you still race, or do you participate? You're the race director. What do you do on race weekend?
Oh gosh, everything. I don't know. I haven't raced in a while. My husband has a Class 9 race car. It's like a little VW kind of bug wagon thing. It's for it. I would say most people, it doesn't look like a VW, even though it's got a VW engine. It looks more like what most people would think of as a buggy. And he races that a couple times a year, but we stay super busy just putting on races. And on any given race weekend, I feel like I am the person that's just sort of floating around and putting out fires all the time.
Yeah.
My husband is the race director specifically, and I've got a great group of volunteers that everybody's got a very dedicated position. And a lot of times people will ask me, or kind of assume like, oh, will you do registration or whatever, different areas that I volunteered in previously, but I've learned that I can't stay tied to a singular spot, or it just ends up, I get pulled somewhere else, and then that other thing isn't getting done. So I'm just kind of always putting out fires.
Yeah. You're just basically the director of everything. And
the business on the whole.
That's
what I oversee. My husband oversees the specific race individually, but the actual business, where I'm the CEO, everything's under my umbrella. Yeah. Everybody's my responsibility at that point.
So do you have very many women that participate?
We do. We have a good, healthy group of youth racers, and by far the girls outweigh the boys, which is amazing. I love
hearing that.
It's so great. And they're just such a good group of kids, and it continues to grow. Like I said, my own daughter is going to start racing here later this year, and she's really excited. But I would say we have a substantial amount of women, whether they are co-driving or racing. We have a good group of them, and we have a ton of them that also are in the pits and everything else. And I think that's something that's always been important to me, is to highlight, like, there are women in motorsports that wear a lot of different hats. It's not just the racers, and they're all a big part of the puzzle.
Yeah, for sure. So tell me a little bit about what exactly are they driving? What kind of vehicles? And you said different classes. So can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a wide variety of different classes. A lot of it you would classify as like UTVs, buggies, cars, trucks. Sometimes we do bikes and quads, just depending on the event. But we've got, I would say, a lot. There's a lot of UTV classes these days, as well as we have sportsman classes for people that are just kind of getting started in racing and don't want to have that ultra competitive vibe. but then we've got all of our pro classes as well. So you're looking at everything from unlimited trucks that people see, like big trophy trucks with all the suspension, and they go well over 100 miles an hour through the desert, and it's incredible to watch, all the way down to the class 11s that are the little stock VW bugs. And then you've got so many different kinds of UTVs these days that everything from the youth racing, where it's, Razor 170s and 200s, all the way up from there.
Yeah.
So
wow. It has to be so fun. I realize it's a lot of work. Don't get me wrong. I get that part of it. But on race day, race weekend, it just has to be so fun to watch. Especially, I would love watching those kids. But, trophy trucks going 100 and some miles an hour. That would
I'd be lying if I didn't say that that's not like probably one of my favorite things to watch. I think, how can you not be entertained by a trophy truck?
Oh, I know. So where do you race? Where are your races? Are they all like in Nevada? Do you go all over the country? Where are most of the races held?
So VORA was originally based out of the Sacramento Valley and has always kind of stayed in California and Nevada as kind of a grassroots series. And we've stayed really true to that. These days, I would say we do most of our races in Nevada just because it's easier. But in the last 2-3 years, we've still raced in California on both short course. And I had I was one of the first people to get a new BLM permit for a desert race in California in a really long time. I was really fortunate to have an area in Northern California that the BLM was amazingly proactive and more than cooperative. I mean, just so helpful. So we had a 5-year permit on a space in California up near Susanville that we had done some races on. But I would say we've gone all the way down to Glen Helen in Southern California, but we really stick to the northern half of those states. Okay. There's a lot of racing going on with other groups in the South.
So tell me, what does BLM stand for?
Oh, yes. I take that for granted that most people probably don't know that, especially in other parts of the country. It's the Bureau of Land Management.
Oh, sure. I've heard of that, but I didn't know that it's
sorry. I should totally have explained that. You've got the Forest Service and then BLM, Bureau of Land Management.
Okay.
That when it comes to public lands, those are the two main agencies that people are dealing with. And here in Nevada, we have like 87% public lands. The state is comprised of. So that's a whole lot. And the vast majority of it is the Bureau of Land Management.
Okay. So you get to know those people very well.
Very well. I work very closely with most of them, even on the Forest Service side of things through my regular job at Tread Lightly. I do a ton of stewardship projects and cleanups and try to make their lives easier in a lot of ways. And it really comes back nicely when I'm working with them through racing as well.
Yeah, for sure. Because I know the volunteer part, it doesn't come about easily. And so anytime any organization can get some free help, they always appreciate it. That's for sure.
For sure. Yeah. Everybody's always, I feel like, strapped for help.
They are.
Nobody ever has enough funding and enough help. So finding ways to kind of fill those voids where I can. All the way across the board.
So about how many races will VORA have in a year's time?
So we typically do, I would say, between 5 and 8 races a year. This year we're doing 3 races that are just standalone VORA races. We actually just had our second of the season. And then we've got 2 that are combo races with other series. So in June, the 3rd week of June, we're doing a 1,000-mile race that is comprised of 4 different racing series kind of coming together, which is a really cool thing that I don't know of anybody that's ever done that before.
And so when you come together, you have all your different classes. They have the same kind of classes?
We're all very similar. And that does get really, really tricky because I don't know too many people where like their rule books from one, association to another are exactly the same. The numbering systems and the classes, they can all vary. So that's half the battle, which takes way more planning, way further in advance than I think most people would ever think. But trying to get on the same page about, how are we going to do that? And when there are differences, how do we want to count those points towards, this series or that series, and try and find a happy middle ground? But it's going to be a really cool, I hope, inaugural event.
Yeah.
That, we may not do every year, because 1,000 miles is an awful lot, but
that's a lot.
It is a lot.
Wow.
So it's like just a huge loop of the state. So it'll be really neat, though, to see how we can all come together for that.
Yeah, for sure. So let's go back for just a minute and talk about the Rebel Rally. Is it the Rebel?
Yep,
yeah,
Rebel.
I always say it wrong. The Rebel Rally. It's funny. I've interviewed several ladies that have done that, and I have to laugh and say, I would love to be the guy in the back seat, just riding along for fun. And I know there's no back seat, but I don't want to be the driver, because you have to drive a certain amount of speed and all those things. And I sure don't want to be the navigator, even though I am a good navigator when we do road trips. But one wrong move and you're messed up. And so it's like, oh no, I would just like the experience, but I don't want the pressure of being responsible for any of that.
I mean, I've always been the driver. The navigator responsibilities are, I have so much admiration for them, but holy cow, I don't know if I could do it, especially in something like the Rebel, because it is hard, no technology, absolutely whatsoever. Everything is map and compass and time, speed, and distance, and the math calculations at 4 o'clock in the morning when barely
no thanks.
That's one of the hardest events. I think
so.
It's a women's only event, so I think I feel that it doesn't get enough credit where it should.
I agree.
It is hard. Holy cow. Yeah. I've done all kinds of different events and racing and all kinds of things that, sure, they're hard, but that is like a lot of days consecutively. So the Rebel is usually from start to finish a total of about 10 days, but really you're competing about 8 of those days.
Yeah.
And it is long, grueling days where you're, camping every night, and you're setting up your own camping stuff and moving it almost every single day. And it's one of the hardest events I've ever ventured to participate in.
The more I've learned of it, the more I know there's no way I could do it, especially not at my age. But I'm impressed.
I've done it with some women that are definitely, I would say, in your age range, and it is all totally possible. So, if you're ever interested in it,
and you have to be in such good shape, like physically in such good shape. And the one lady talked about what she ate and drank as she, was on the trip. And it was just like, oh my gosh, this is crazy.
I don't think I hardly ate it at all either year, just because I was that just nonstop busy from 16-hour days.
Yeah.
I feel like each time I would have like a dramatic weight loss by the end of it. If you're driving, you are not free-handed to be eating, and it never feels like there's downtime. They have breakfast and they have dinner, but even then at breakfast, you're trying to prepare all your stuff and plot for the day, decide where you're going to try and go and what you're going to aim for. And then at night, you've still got other responsibilities, and it's just a amazing event and so difficult at the same time.
Yeah. 100%. So I just interviewed a gal that works for the University of Northern Ohio, I think it is, UNOH. And she's a recruiter, and she lives in Northern Michigan, and it was great interview. And they just started a rally team at that school. Cool. And I really would love to visit and see the school firsthand, because it's one of the few, if not the only school that has motorsports classes. Like Absolutely. They have a drifting team, and they have a new rally team, and amazing.
Had I known that, I probably would have chose different for at least a portion of my schooling.
Well, and I mean, the people in motorsports, I think maybe know about it more than anyone. But what if you're a kid who doesn't really know you're interested in motorsports?
That is true.
it's, it's hard to get the word out. And so that's what I'm trying to help her a little bit in that regard. But there's a gal from right here in Kalamazoo that went there, and she's a pit member on an ARCA team.
Oh,
and yeah, she's going to be on the show next week. And I've known her since she was little. She raced quarter midgets against my grandchildren. So I'm looking forward to that. But, there's so many opportunities, aren't there, Laura, to be involved in racing in one way or the other. And
there are.
And there's a lot of, people, like she talked about how when she shows her presentation to kids that have no idea about really racing, and they think they can't go to college because they're not a good learner or a good student.
Yeah.
And then they see what she's offering at her school, and it changes lives. And I just love that about it.
That's incredible. I will have to definitely remember that, because there's all the kids in youth racing that I work with, for starters, that, are all going to be in that age range pretty soon. So that's great to know. That's something I definitely, although, much like you said, I didn't know at that age that was the path I was going to want to take. No. But it's still, that's a really cool thing. And you're absolutely right. You do not need to be a racer if you're interested in this stuff. There are so many different avenues to pursue.
That's
right.
You
can be a mechanic. You could, there's all kinds of work that goes on in the pits. Yeah. So once upon a time, I was also into welding, and that's an incredibly valuable skill to have for motorsports in general. So
that's what my husband has done for a living.
Oh, really?
A welder. And that's then he worked for like Stryker, that makes all the beds, like you
the
see
hospital beds. Yeah, and they had gurneys that we used on the ambulance. Stryker.
Yeah, you always see him. You even see him on the TV shows. He worked there, and he always had worked, and then as he got older, he kind of, closer to retirement age, he does his own stuff out of our barn, our garage here. So he's still doing it. He's 70, but he loves it. But, that's a very detailed task. It's not something that you're going to go to a 4-year school for, probably.
No, but man, is it a good job. They make great money. It's good, steady work. I mean, not everybody needs to go to a university. I'm definitely one of those people. There are trade schools that do amazing things all over the place.
Yeah.
And hey, you might walk away without any student debt, which is also awesome.
Exactly. So, lots of things. Sure.
I've gone to school like a million times, associate's degree and then bachelor's degree. And then at one point I was like, oh, well, I don't really know what I'm doing. So I'm going to go to HVAC school and get my technician license for heating and air conditioning. Like, I've been to school a bunch of times. You can't go wrong.
But that's okay, because we never stop learning.
No.
I don't care how old you are. I learn stuff every day, and I'm really into marketing, social media marketing, podcasts. Oh my gosh. I've fallen in love with not only doing podcasts, but listening to other people. And it's just, who would have thought, 5 years ago, that wasn't really a thing. And so
no, it wasn't. And now I'm in the car a lot and listen to a lot of podcasts.
Yeah.
It really keeps me going on car trips.
Absolutely. Well, Laura, what have we not talked about that we should? Like, if somebody wanted to check out VORA, where would they go? And if they want to, check in with you about something, how would somebody get in touch with you?
Right. So VORA has a website, voraracing.com. It's VORRA racing.com. And then you can find any of my pages on Instagram and Facebook for sure. Farmy's Off-Road Park has a page. VORA has a page. I personally have a page. You can usually find me. My handle on everything is VORA Laura. That's what everybody always calls me, which was not intentional originally, but it works. So
yeah, it sure does.
People are more than welcome to find me anywhere on social media. You can email me at voralaura@gmail.com. I'm pretty easy to find. I'm on LinkedIn and all the things. I am on TikTok. I don't use it a whole lot.
Yeah.
Instagram and Facebook, I definitely have a lot of presence.
Okay. All right. Anything that you want to share that we haven't talked about?
Oh gosh, we've covered a lot of stuff in a short amount of time, which I'm super grateful for. I'm just, I guess, grateful for all the support that I have. There's about 1 million different organizations that I'm a board of director for, and everything goes into the giant pool of people that are trying to keep motorsports going and make things happen. And just, that is a huge effort all the time behind the scenes. But I just want to really encourage people that there's a lot of different roles in motorsports besides just being a race car driver.
Yeah.
And there's so much cool stuff to be had. So
yeah, absolutely.
Even if you want to be a racer, I always encourage people to start off by volunteering in a pit crew.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I
do too.
I want to get into this. What do I do? How do I do it? Where do I go?
Volunteering is the best way. And even the gal at UNOH, Mara is her name. She has a lot of those kids that go to Monster Jam, and they're like a volunteer for the night, and they help work on the truck and stuff. It's just volunteer, get your foot in the door and meet. And it's about who you meet and who you build a relationship
I
with.
really hadn't even thought about Monster Jam, but that's a great one. They send me, every time they come to Reno, they send me tickets to be a social media influencer, which is kind of funny in its own way. But I love to watch Monster Jam. It's super entertaining. And the girls that participate in that are also just doing incredible things.
Oh, they are. And 2 of them went to UNOH.
Did they? Okay, well, there you go. See, I'm really gonna have to look into that school, and from now on,
I'll connect you with her when we get off. When we get off here,
I would love to be able to provide that information to a bunch of the younger girls that I work with all the time. I do a ton of sponsorship stuff for people on the side, create sponsorship decks and help them with their marketing and stuff.
Awesome.
So I'm always looking to help the next generation.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. Well, Laura, I've really enjoyed talking to you. I wish you were closer because I would love to come to one of your races, but you just never know. My daughters, 2 of them live in Arizona. And so at least that'd get me
not too far.
Closer.
There is some good racing that goes on in Arizona as well.
Yeah, there is for sure. So
but I hope our paths cross again sometime soon.
I do too. I'd love to come to one of your race weekends. That would be so fun. And my husband would love the trophy trucks for sure. So
oh my gosh, yeah. Anytime, you're more than welcome.
Okay.
We had a guy fly out from Washington, D.C. a couple weeks ago to do media, and I'm like, how did you end up here?
Okay, well, I'm going to put that on my bucket list.
There you go. Yeah. And you can always find me at events like SEMA, different trade show things too.
Sounds great. Well, Laura, thanks again for being on. And if you hold on just a second, I'll talk to you a minute when we get off. So Thanks for being on today.
Thank you for having me.
Sure.
That's it for this episode of the Women's Motorsports Network podcast. We hope you've been inspired by the stories I shared today and feel more connected to the amazing community of women in motorsports. Remember, whether you're behind the wheel, in the pits, or cheering from the stands, your story matters. And together, we're driving change and celebrating every milestone. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who loves motorsports as much as you do. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and more incredible stories. So until next time, stay inspired, stay connected, and keep racing through life. This is the Women's Motorsports Network podcast, where every woman's story is worth celebrating.